Hi. Okay, so I saw the Han Solo movie, and I actually wanted to see it before I make this observation. I went and saw it, and the theater was like there were only two or three other families in there. Now, when I saw The Last Jedi, like a week later, I mean, it's been about a week since its release, since Han Solo's release. And there's like nobody. Now, a week after The Last Jedi, the theater was still pretty packed. The Last Jedi, about the same thing. Even as backlash was starting to come out. I mean, maybe it's my instinct as when I used to be an administrator online and trying to keep the peace. But hasn't this gone on long enough? You are perfectly entitled to hate a movie. But at this point in the game, it feels like if you hate it, everyone has to hate it. No, that's not the. No. And it's also gotten to the point where it's like, because you hate it, you are now gone up to the point where Disney is banned from making movies. No, that's not the point. George Lucas gave the rights to Disney. Now they can do whatever they want with it. Well, you can ban Disney. You don't have to like what they do. You can do the whole not my Disney, which I think is ridiculous, and I have the right to do that. But guys, look at it. It's a science fiction movie. It's a science fiction series. Just like Harry Potter is a fantasy series. It's fiction. Sherlock Holmes doesn't exist. As much as we wish he did. Hey, listen, we've all heard the story of when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle tried to kill off his own character, and he ended up having to bring him back. That's why the empty house, which we know it as the empty hearse, because people don't read books anymore, and I'll go that far. It's the book is the empty house, but the new series is the empty hearse. So Sherlock was brought back to life, and that was because Sir Arthur Conan Doyle lost a lot of popularity. He even lost his job with the magazine, because remember, magazines was where people were, because basically Sherlock Holmes was a short story, and were bunches of short stories. So, but anyway, yeah, he was losing his popularity and his job. So he had to bring it back. As much as he hated he hated Sherlock so much. People knew Sherlock before they knew him. And yeah, that would be really irritating. For George Lucas, I don't think he cared. It was giving, Star Wars was making him thousands upon millions, billions of dollars. He could care less if people knew Star Wars before they knew him. But guys, it's a science fiction story. You know, story. The Adventures of Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker doesn't, of course, seems these days Mark Hamill is more Luke Skywalker, just like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man. But come on, guys. You know, when I was an administrator back in the early 2000s, you saw a lot of things. I'm sure a lot of people who were also administrators for you had like the role play pages and forums and that sort of thing. And over on MySpace, we had role play pages that we would, and also pages that we would talk about stuff like this. So there weren't any spoilers for the movies and that kind of stuff. But, we had our own little communities. I talked about the emo community and everything. They were all little communities. Well, anyway, there were nerd communities. Anyway, when the prequels came out, now the first one, Phantom Menace, came out when I was a senior in high school. So, when when the second one came out, I wasn't on MySpace yet, or I don't think MySpace existed. So it was by the time the third one came out, Revenge of the Sith. So we were between those two, the second and the third. But there was also, and a lot of people forget this cartoon series, there was a two-dimensional animation series that went with Padme and Anakin. And so it didn't last very long, but there was that one as well. And yeah, being an administrator on those pages, you heard a lot, you saw a lot, you had those people that would say something and then they deny it, and it was just like, but nothing as big as what goes on now. The things that you guys say to each other is just awful. Or the trolling, can we stop doing that? You're entitled to your opinion, but when you say something just to troll, that's awful. I mean, it's like, someone will say that they like The Last Jedi. And you come around and you say anyone who likes The Last Jedi is blah, 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 blah. And it's like, it's the most hateful thing I've ever heard. And you're proud of it because you said it. You shouldn't be proud of that. And I think the saddest part is that a lot of times the person who originally posted saying that they like The Last Jedi would be like 19, and the person who said the hateful words is like 43. That's sad. And the stuff that I saw when I was an administrator, that's pretty much where the prequel classic trilogy clash started. But it wasn't as fueled as it is now. People would say, well, I think that the classic trilogy is better, and here's why. They would talk about that the classic trilogy is better because of the fact that they used props instead of a crap ton of CGI. The CGI wasn't needed. Now it's like you guys try so hard to prove that one trilogy is better than the other, and it's like, you know what? They're both flawed. Look, I love Return of the Jedi with all my heart. And that's my movie. Everyone has their favorite movie. And even then, you guys have to prove. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so everyone has their favorite movie in Star Wars. Every fan has their favorite. But every movie is flawed. I'm sorry. There's goofs, there's just, you watch and you find something wrong with it. But the other thing that bothers me are the people that are like, you could ask any fan in the fandom and they'll tell you that this movie is pretty much the best in the trilogy. And it's like, really? Because I could ask about 5 fans and they don't like that one. You know, I don't know who established that Empire Strikes Back is the best in the classic trilogy. Because you know what? 10 years ago, that wasn't a thing. I swear to God, that was not a thing. So now we have these. So, given that, now that I've done in my day, so now we have these new movies. The Last Jedi. Everyone made a big thing about how there wasn't enough CGI. I was fine with that. J.J. Abrams, apparently you guys missed the part where J.J. Abrams was trying to show tribute to George Lucas with the classic trilogy. Did you guys not hear that part? Because I did. Among all the other spoiler stuff, and that's the funny part. You guys throw out all of these theories and everything, hoping that yours will turn into something from the movie. Yeah, caught on to that. I've been around long enough to know how it works. Everyone posts theories, and the article writers throw out their own theories, hoping that these script writers will catch on and think, oh, you know what, that's a good idea. I should use that. Yeah. And you want to know something? In some of these movies, it's been done, hasn't worked out too well. I'm not going to say which ones, because then you guys are ripping it apart. But, that's the thing. The theories are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be among fans and supposed to be fun. Now you're trying to bleed it into Hollywood, and that's where it stops being fun. The idea of a theory is you talk amongst your friends and be like, okay, well, we saw the movie, and what if this happens? What if? What if? You guys are missing the point completely. You guys want something and you want it now. Okay? So you start calling him Jar Jar Abrams. So where's the name calling coming from? How immature are you? You guys are very toxic at this point. When you guys are calling him names, he barely, I mean, you know what? For years, excuse me. How many years have gone by using the comparison of George Lucas with a bunch of the props from like the 70s and 80s of his movies, of the classic trilogy, and then next to a green screen on the other side from the prequels. Yeah, and then J.J. Abrams uses very little. You know what? CGI is not that great. Oh my gosh. They use too much of it now, and they don't even use it right. You're comfortable with something, and when they don't use it, you freak out. You're so childish. Be mad at me, don't care. When have I ever cared? But this is a problem. See, I love Star Wars, have loved it since I was 3, and when I see a fan base attacking itself, I mean, you guys are eating each other alive. I'm gonna speak up. This is awful. You guys are animals. So you didn't like, and then you make fun of Kylo Ren. Calling him emo. That wasn't emo. Oh my fucking shit. Okay. He wasn't emo. He was just a kid mad at his parents. That's not emo. That's like half of the teenage race. Are you guys insane? You want to stereotype everything and then you turn around and say, don't stereotype things. What? You gotta put a stereotype on something and then you turn around and say, don't do that. Contradiction much? Oh, and now we're doing this whole thing of who are Ray's parents? What is this? What is that? So you're demanding to know all these things. You have to know it now. You're pissed off because you don't know it. You want to know Ray's parents. And because the last movie didn't tell you, you're even more angry. You know there's another movie, right? Just thought I'd point that out. Good gosh almighty. Now, I'm not exactly excited about the Kylo Ren and Rey romance thing that people have conjured up. But you know what? It makes them happy. You know, because it could be that we find out that they're related and then it's going to be like, oh. Because let me tell you something. In 70s and 80s, the comic book writers were pairing up Luke Skywalker and Leia. And come to find out that they're related. Suddenly that stopped. I think there's a couple books too where Luke and Leia were paired up romantically. You know, it's just one of those things. I know that a lot of people find it sickening and disgusting. I'm not a fan of it. You know, I kind of feel like, and at this point, that particular community of people is pushing the idea and wanting it to happen. Stop it. You can't force something. And I know you guys are going to be like, oh, yes, we can. Really? Oh, gosh. You're going to be bullies about this. You want something that badly in a fiction movie, and you're going, you know, this is what fan fiction is for. This is what fan art is for. Just continue with that. Don't be so toxic. Okay, so now we're at The Last Jedi. Man, that caused the worst explosion in the world in a fan base. And it has continued to. Guys, if you didn't like it, fine. But you know what? Why are you making it bleed into the other movies? Now, Rogue One, I was actually impressed with. I wasn't expecting much. Came out, I was actually like, wow, that was impressive. You know, as one of those standalone movies, it did pretty well. So then you have The Last Jedi. And Like the casino scene, they didn't need to have that in there. There were a couple characters where it was like, why even? Why even are they in here? I mean, this doesn't make sense at all. I mean, you look back on The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens, and the characters were. I didn't have any problem with any of the characters that were in there. You had Poe, who is this pilot who, and a lot of you were saying, well, it's just A New Hope redone. They didn't really do it, they just recycled. And you know what? There were a lot of things that were different. But then you had The Last Jedi, and the story was kind of muddled, and there were a lot of twists and turns that made absolutely no sense. There were characters dropped in, again, made no sense. And I felt like for Carrie's last movie, they could have done better. However, for all the temper tantrums that there were, that wasn't necessary. Not my Star Wars. Disney ruins everything. Well, Disney doesn't ruin everything. Have you seen Age of Ultron? Go over on the Marvel side and see some of the things they did. Yeah. I don't know when they ended up with, when Disney ended up with Marvel, but there's always emo Spider-Man. I don't know if that's when Disney had Marvel, but we just saw because I went to the theater with my brother and we just saw the trailer for Venom. And I said, you know what? They really had to recover. Marvel really had to recover after emo Spider-Man. And one of the other people in the theater was like, oh, hell yes, they did. But it's the truth. I mean, you do something as dumb as that, and because they had a good thing going, they had a good series going, and then they do something as dumb as emo Spider-Man. And that was emo. Kylo Ren is not emo. He's just a dumb kid who took a wrong, he decided to rebel because he's mad at his parents. It's not emo. Learn what it is. So, yeah, but the thing is that you guys are throwing massive temper tantrums over The Last Jedi. Okay, you don't like it, but you want to know something? There is also the holiday special, the Ewok Adventures. And this is your breaking point? Wow. Seriously, wow. And it could be, well, I don't know, because no, Carrie was in the holiday special. I mean, she was part of the hell. I don't know what's the matter with you. Because I was gonna say maybe it's because Carrie was in this one, but there was just a lot wrong with the holiday. I mean, with the holiday. Now I'm on that. With The Last Jedi. But you know what? When you look back on Star Wars, the history of Star Wars, and some of the stuff that's in it, this should not be your breaking point. George Lucas did make some dumb decisions with his characters. So, yeah. So, with all that in mind, you guys are throwing a massive temper tantrum because of The Last Jedi, and with that, you guys have decided to boycott the Solo movie. Disney is screwing up all of everything I know about Star Wars. Okay, holiday special. And Ewok Adventures. I'm going to throw back that at you because those three things, George Lucas was still, he still had those. And I would also like to point out that he put out the special edition Star Wars and he took out the Ewok song. So he takes out the Ewok song. We were talking about this before we saw the Solo movie. He takes that out. Plus, when you watch A New Hope with the special edition, the explosion of the Death Star is all wrong for space. I've heard that enough times from my geeky friends and my brother. He screwed it up. How dare you take out the Ewok song? You don't take out the because and that ending is so weird because like and then he puts in Hayden Christensen at the end. That didn't make any sense. His son is not going to know who that is. You guys can defend it to high heaven, but Luke Skywalker would not know who that young kid is. And you guys could say, "Oh, through the Force he would know." And it's like, "Okay, his son would not know who that guy is, even if there's recognition between. Why would he turn young when Obi-Wan didn't and Yoda didn't? That's dumb." So Lucas made poor decisions when he had Star Wars. So why are you bitching about it now with The Last Jedi? One movie. Okay. Lucas put out the special edition Star Wars, which I have them. I do have them. Put out the special edition Star Wars, chopped up some things. And then there's, of course, he denies the holiday special, but it's like, why you had to give permission to those characters because you were so tight with them. So you're whining and complaining about The Last Jedi, not my Star Wars, and blah, 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 blah. Boycotting Han Solo. Well, you know what? You're missing out on a good movie. Yeah, it has flaws. You know what? Every movie does. You can make the arguments of, well, you know, the classic trilogy is the best. No, this trilogy is the best. No, this one is the best in the saga. And they're all, you know, every movie that's pumped out of Hollywood has flaws. So, if you're going to boycott this movie, fine, but you want to know something? I think the thing that really is sad is you're missing out on a good movie. I mean, the casting was good. Harrison Ford has seen it, and he's probably one of the most blunt people in Hollywood, and if he hated it, he would have said so. Um, the young man who, and I don't remember his name, but the young man who played Han Solo did a fantastic job. I was hearing he can't act himself out of a paper bag. Really? Because he did pretty well. Everything that you're hearing about this movie, oh, it's doing terrible in the box office, it's doing that. You know what? They say that about a lot of movies. You know, people decide to put their own personal opinion on things to ruin things. You know, now you have these journalists who just want to destroy something, so instead of actually giving the news, they give their opinion. You can't believe anything anymore. And so, yeah, like I said, you are so into destroying this movie over a movie that it has no ties with. Just because it's Star Wars and you've decided not my Star Wars But this Rian Johnson that was part of The Last Jedi is not part of this. The guy who was behind The Last Jedi that you're so up in arms about is not part of this movie. Ron Howard is. So why are you having a bitch fest? You know, I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was 3, and I'm going to be 36 this month. And it really pisses me off to see the fan base get so toxic. I mean, even when I was an administrator over on MySpace, it wasn't this bad. To see you guys ready to threaten, I mean, I've seen people threaten and say, I'm going to come over to your house and burn it down if you don't agree with me. Where is this coming from? You guys, this fan base, Star Wars has been around for over 40 years now. If someone doesn't agree with you, just accept it. If they don't like Han Solo, fine. If they don't like that character, fine. If they don't like the classic trilogy, accept it. If they like The Last Jedi, accept it and move on with your life. I still am trying to figure out why you guys are freaking out over The Last Jedi when there's stuff like the holiday special and the Ewok Adventures. I think you need to do more research on just what is in the Star Wars universe. I mean, I have had my head ripped off over the fact that I like the extended universe. The classic extended universe, the one that Disney said, get rid of it, it doesn't exist anymore. It's like, yeah, fuck you, because you know what? This is what I grew up with. You can't tell me what to do. I've been buying the books over at collection shops. It's like, because apparently you can't buy them anymore. Brand new, because thanks, Disney. And what's funny to me, what is hilarious to me, is that Disney is slowly bringing those characters back. Like, apparently they're going to bring back Mara Jade. They brought back Admiral Thrawn. It's like, wow, you said not to think about these characters and you're bringing them back. Okay, Disney. You make a lot of sense here. But, I mean, come on, guys. Why are you guys just ripping each other apart like animals over something that is a science fiction story? You shouldn't be doing that. You you should be able to have a discussion. If somebody disagrees with you, you're like, okay, please explain. Not, I'm gonna come and kill you. You better watch your back. No. And if you don't like something, like say you don't like the classic trilogy, you think it's outdated. I've seen that one. I've seen a lot of people say that they don't like it because it's outdated. Well, fine, that's your opinion. You're perfectly entitled to it. And don't let others tell you otherwise. I hate those people that you tell them something and then they spend 45 minutes telling you why that's wrong. They're like, well, you're entitled to your opinion, but. And it's like, why are you. What? I told you that. I told you this, and you're. So, anyway. Yeah. I've been a fan, like I said, for over 30 years. And over 35 years. And it just bothers me that now I can't have a discussion about Star Wars without somebody ready to rip my head off over the most smallest thing. It's like, guys, come on. This is outrageous. And like I said, when over on MySpace, yeah, there were some little arguments here and there, but nothing like now. It's like you're waiting to fight. And the trolling, can we stop now? Can we serious? I mean, the fact that you make it a career to troll, get a real job. Yeah. Stop being immature. The fact that there are 45-year-old people going around and trolling, it's time to grow up. But yeah, this is a science fiction movie, and it's a movie. It's fiction. I hate to break it to you, but you guys are threatening other people over fiction. Look, I live my life by this movie. I quote it all the time. I will sit with my brother and have 3-hour conversations about the canon, not canon, and you know, like today we were talking about, well, the only flaws with the movie is because this wasn't in it, and the Corellia problems, and this and that, and oh, he had a problem with that. But that's what we are. We're geeks. I like having those discussions, and it's like I can't have that outside of here because I know I'm gonna get my head bitten off. Come on, guys. Can we stop with being toxic? It'd be nice.